Hey, what's up, guys? Ratsmah here, and yeah, we're back with another arena draft walkthrough. Let's see what we have. So we've done Warlock and Druid. I think this week we'll go with probably the Paladin class. Warlock is a slightly faster class than Arena, and Druid tends to be one of the slowest classes, and Paladin is more mid-ranged. Generally, your decks turn out to be very mid-ranged, so we'll give this one a go. So currently, as of today, March 17th, 2015, I think I think that Paladin is probably the strongest class in Arena. They're very flexible in the early game. They have a lot of powerful cards like Archer Protector, Shielded Minibot, Muster for Battle, and they're very good at grabbing the board and keeping the board with things like the Archer Protector, Aldor Peacekeeper, Blessing of Kings, True Silver. They're very good against aggressive decks because of their mid-range removal. Their Consecrates, True Silvers, and they can even play the slow game because they can get big stuff. And once you have the board control that you get from your strong early game cards like the True Silver, Shielded Minis, you tend to keep it very well by protecting your guys with the Aldor Archer Protectors. It's a very strong class, a lot of flexibility. So here we go. Let's see what we can get. So Sunfury Protector versus Reynad versus Master. Since we're playing a non-ping class, we generally don't want to take 2-mana 2/3s, especially in Paladin, since we do get that Shielded Minibot. So 2-drops are worth a little bit less. We want to value cards like 3-drops a lot higher. Paladin's power slot is the 4 slot, so we want to value 4-drops a little bit lower as well. Here, between the Sunfury and the Master, we're just gonna go with the Master for those for that reason, because we can pick up better 2-drops. Ogre Brute. I'll just go over the more difficult choices, and we'll skip through the easy ones. Lost Hall Strider, we talked about this a lot. 4 mana, 4 health guys are very vulnerable and very easy to remove, so we really don't want that. Spectral Knight versus Force Tank. I don't generally like picking up really big cards because of the tempo loss if it gets hard removed. And we would only really need the Force Tank once we fill up our curve. You never really have a quota for 8-drops, but you kind of have a quota for 5-drops. You generally want to end up with maybe 3, 4. So here, we'll take the Spectral Knight because it fills up our 5 slot. Pretty easy Yeti pick. And here's also a pretty easy True Silver pick. I say here it's pretty easy. Ogre Brute is pretty powerful. It trades at least 1-for-1 with all other 3-drops, and it also kills 2-drops for free. So if you're in a position where you don't draw into a 2-drop and all you have is Ogre Brute for turn 3, cards like Ogre Brute, Spider Tank, Scarlet Crusader, Harvest Golem are top tier because they help stabilize you on 3 once if you do miss your 2-drop. So they are pretty important pick, maybe more so if you have a low 2 slot. Right now we're only 4 picks in, so we can't really say that. We're better off picking the powerful class card, True Silver. Hammer of Wrath. Talking about Hammer of Wrath a little bit. Hammer of Wrath, you never want to Hammer of Wrath on turn 4. Whenever I see my opponent's Hammer of Wrath on turn 4, it's such a slow play, and the Paladin class really depends on having some kind of board to play with. Your True Silver deals 4 damage. Without any kind of board, not a lot of minions have 4 health. We talk a lot about very critical amounts, like amounts of hit points that minions have, and generally they have 3, 5, 7 sometimes, but 4 is very awkward. So it's very important for you to have some kind of board control to help you edge out extra damage with the True Silver, whether it be like a 1/1 Silverhand Recruit or just like a 2-drop. So you never really want to take slow cards, but But Hammer of Wrath is great in the late game. It's probably one of the best top decks you can get, and it's definitely better than these two. Since we can't really activate the Gurbashi, it's very vulnerable to things like Kodo or Shadow or Pain. But here we will take the Hammer of Wrath. Never something you're really looking for in a Paladin draft, but it's okay to have one. Aldor Peacekeeper versus Argent Commander. This one is a little bit more difficult. Argent Commander is definitely a top tier rare neutral card. Aldor Peacekeeper is a really good Paladin rare card. So here I'll make it easy. Generally you just pick Aldor Peacekeeper all the time. Whether it's played in the late game or in the early game or in the mid game, whenever it's played, it is good. It's kind of like removing a minion. It's like you remove a threat completely and you just develop a 3/3 for 3. Is that the best way to explain that? I don't think I explained anything. So I say this a lot. If you have some kind of board, let's say that it's, I don't know, your Stringhorn Tiger versus another, your opponent's Stringhorn Tiger. Let's make it easy. Generally for a mage, if you have like a fireball, that'd be a very, very efficient answer to the 5/5. As Paladin, you can one-up that. So you can play the Aldor Peacekeeper and then run your Tiger into your opponent's Tiger. You still keep your Tiger, so it's very similar to the mage, but you also develop a 3/3 body. So in that way, things like Aldor Peacekeeper and Argent Protector, which works in the same way, are much better than just removing creatures, removal cards. Yeah, so take the Aldor Peacekeeper. Ironbeak Owl versus Holy Light versus Dollar Mage. To synergize with Dollar Mage, we don't have any Consecrates, but we do have a Hammer of Wrath. I don't know if that's enough. The choices here are, we don't have very good options. I think here, just for the utility, I think we should take the Ironbeak Owl. It's less of an investment on a card. It's only 2 mana, and when you're not up against a ping class, you might be able to get away with playing it on 2 to trade your opponent's 3/2. So I think that's fine. Generally not a very good card, but sometimes you have to pick between bad cards. Here's a pretty easy Hammer of Wrath pick. These two are really not good enough, so we won't talk about it. Blood Knight versus Recombobulator. So Blood Knight is like the free win card. Generally, if you through your arena set, if you have like a BGH or a Blood Knight, those cards are so swingy that it'll probably win you 1 or 2 games out of your set. So if I predict this deck to go maybe like 10 wins, we don't know yet, but let's say that this deck does go 10 wins, then I would predict that 2 games were won off Blood Knight's back. If we pick it here, just because when it hits, it's so big. You never want to force it to hit though. So if you don't have a 3-drop on 3, you should probably just play it on 3. So don't force it. But post GvG, there are a lot more minions with Divine Shield. There are a lot more minions that have 7+7 or more attack. So BGH got better. So yeah, and it's really hard to come back from a swing from Blood Knight or BGH in Arena. So we'll take it here. Blessing of Wisdom, it's a fine cantrip. You just, 1 mana. Whenever you have 1 mana laying around, just play it. If it survives, then you get another card. Not too risky of a play ever. Hand of Protection, kind of like a tempo removal card if you have board control. Once again, if you have board control and you can remove something with it, it's pretty much like a very fast, Fireball or Frostbolt, or choose your removal card. Generally, you don't want too many cards that are support cards in Arena, since it is probably like 90% of the battle as Paladin is getting board control, because once you get board control, you're unstoppable. So you don't want any cards that help you win more. So if your hand of protection is good on any given turn, that means you already have board control, which means that you've already done all the hard work. Hand of protection is helping, but it's not helping that much. So I think we're better off taking the Blessing of Wisdom here. It's never terrible. Play it on like a Ventrico, laugh your ass off, maybe. So we have 2 Hammer of Wraths already. I don't want to flood this deck with too many Hammer of Wraths. I think that makes the deck way too slow. We already have Blessing of Wisdom and 2 Hammer of Wraths as draw. Also, we have non-curve plays like the Ire and Beakal. And we really want to make sure we have solid curve plays for our 2, 3, and 4 slot in Paladin. Since our removal is kind of low impact, we have True Silver and Consecrate. They don't do as much damage as you know, like Druid removal or like Mage removal. So we need to make sure we don't fall behind on the board. For that reason here, we would go with the Youthful Brew or the Avenge, since they're much better for tempo. The Youthful Brew is probably better since we are playing a class with a lot of valuable battle cries, things like the Lord Peacekeeper and Archer Protector that I keep coming back to, are very good with Youthful Brewmaster. So we'll take him here. Holy Light, never really a card. Never really want to pick up any kind of like self heals in Arena. Arena is very focused on board control, so healing your face generally won't be the right way to win you games. Sometimes it does help, but it's generally not worth the card. Noble Sack versus Hand of Protection. Noble Sack, it might trade with your opponent's 2-drop, but I think better than risking, you know, just playing a 2-1. That could be taken advantage of by like a 2-3 or Shield Mini or Haunted Creeper, Noitron, things like that. And that's best case scenario if you draw it on turn in your opening hand. I think we're better off taking Hand of Protection as like a support card. Okay, so this choice is not so great, but we do have 2 Hammer of Wraths, which makes Ancient Mage a lot better. But this is a really slow combo. It would be a turn 8 combo, and you wouldn't be able to draw the card that you play. Having said that, Little Exorcist. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 3-drops. Little Exorcist could be more of like a counterplay. You wouldn't be forced to play it on 3, since we have enough 3-drops to support our turn 3. But this is really close. I honestly think you can go with either one. I'm gonna opt to go for the Ancient Mage. It does help clean up 2-drops, and if we do fall behind, Ancient Mage has the 5 health as a 4-drop, so it is on some boards okay, and we can take it here. Light's Justice versus Yeti. We definitely need more 4-drops since 2 of them are Hammer of Wrath, so these are definitely not curve plays. So we currently have 1, maybe 2, and 3 curve plays on 4, so we want to pick up to 6 and maybe at least 5. So take the Yeti here. Hand of Protection, No More Ground Infantry, Gnomish Inventor. Once again, Gnomish Inventor, the reason why it's not good is it's very much like the Hammer of Wrath. It's a very slow play, and we need to aggressively grab the board as a Paladin. Here, I think I might take another Hand of Protection. It is... The second one is a lot worse. Generally, we don't even want 1. It's never a bad card. I would probably rate it as being like average to slightly average, better with a stronger early game, because then that'll guarantee that you'll be able to use it effectively instead of it being a dead card in your hand. Our 2-slot looks really weak though, since we only have Youthful Brew as a curve play. Might be better off taking the Gnomish Inventor here. We definitely don't need another 3-drop. that especially a bad 3-drop like Nomoground Infantry. So Noyatron versus Leper Gnome. Here we'll go with the Noyatron. It does trade evenly with a lot of 2-drops, depending on what class is playing them, but all around it's fine. Noyatron is like a mini Sunwalker. It'll, against a lot of classes, it takes 2 hits from the board, so it may save you from when you're in a tough spot. Plus, minions with Divine Shield are a lot more valuable in Paladin, since we do get buff cards like Blessing of Might, Blessing of Kings, so that's pretty useful. We even have this synergy, I guess. I didn't even see this synergy, the Noyatron Blood Knight, so that's good. Here we have a Nightblade, Salty Dog, and Fen Creeper. Nightblade a little more, maybe more appropriate for an aggressive deck, and even in an aggressive deck, Nightblade is not really that good. Fen Creeper is really the only pick here. It's nice to get like a triple, like 3 of the same mana cost minions as in one choice here. Fen Creeper is probably the stronger out of the 3. Get to okay, so if we think 4 drops with 4 health are bad, then 5 drops with 4 health are really terrible. I'll just put it that way. Salty Dog is a little bit better. It's a little bit different since it trades evenly with other 5 drops, so it is a curve play somewhat if it doesn't get removed, right? So it's a risky curve play. Here, I think we're better off just taking the Fen Creeper. It also trades evenly with 5 drops. If you think 5 drops, the base 5-drop stats are 4/6. So if you can think about things like Spiteful Smith, Spectral Knight, or even like Silverhand Knight, kind of is like a 4/6. Here we can take the Blessing of Kings. Not really gonna talk about that too much. Gnomish Experimenter versus Deathlord. So I think these 2 cards are probably like 2 of the most hated cards in Arena. Not sure why. I think both of them are pretty good depending on your deck and what you need in your deck. So if you're playing a slower deck that can do really well if you can get to the late game, Deathlord as a stall card is pretty decent. It'll get you to your late game, and you don't have to worry about your opponents overrunning you. It is kind of risky, but you know there's all kinds of RNG in Hearthstone anyway. So if you're scared of RNG, then you probably are playing the wrong game. Gnomish Experimenter. It is probably the biggest question I get asked, because I do probably rate it higher than most other streamers. So they don't see it very often unless they're on my streams. They always ask, the viewers always ask me, why'd you pick that card? Why is that card good? Crip did make a video about Gnomish Experimenter, and oh my god, that helped me so much because I can just refer those people to that video. But here I'll do my best to try to explain Gnomish Experimenter. So it's 3 mana 3/2. Battle card, draw a card. Most 3-drops, the base stats of a 3-drop is a 3 mana 3/3. There are much better 3-drops like Spider Tank, which is a 3 mana 3/4, which is why Spider Tank is like a god card. The Gnomish Experimenter trades evenly with 2-drops, and sometimes will trade evenly with 3-drops as well. So if you think Ironfur Grizzly, Raging Worgen, Injured Blade Master, it trades evenly with all those with a chance to draw a card. Generally, your deck, your games are not going to go to fatigue, so you can just imagine that if you don't draw a card and it turns your next card into a chicken, your minion card into a chicken, that minion card could have been at the bottom of the deck, whether it's like your rag that you happen to get in your draft. Just imagine that you never drew rag that game, right? It's the best way to think about it. You're giving yourself a chance to draw a card. That's the important part. And the stats on the Gnomish Experimenter are much better than if it was like a 2/3. So it's very similar to like a Razorfen Hunter, because Razorfen Hunter has 2 + 1, which is 3. attack on the board, so you're dealing as much damage to your opponent's next play or current play as a Razor Fan Hunter, which doesn't give you a chance to draw. So in a lot of cases, Gnomish Experimenter, as good as, you know, a lot of 3-drops. So like if you're expecting your 3-drop to hit into your opponent's 4-drop because you've already cleared your opponent's 3-play, right? Then the Gnomish Experimenter is the same up against a Yeti as a Spider Tank, but Gnomish Experimenter drew you a card. And in the late game, the health on your smaller guys really does not matter, because generally you're going to be facing up against bigger things that kill Gnomish Experimenter or Spider Tank in one hit anyways. So I hope that makes more sense. Here, which one are we going to take? We don't really need 3 plays, which is we have 4 3-drops. Which one here do we want to pick? Deathlord or Gnomish Experimenter? Do we need to survive and get to the late game? Deathlord a little bit better in Paladin since we do get buffs. So we could do something like Blessing of Wisdom onto Deathlord, which might get our opponents to use like a silence, and then that's really good because we already drew our card, and now we have a 3-mana 2/8 that doesn't give our opponent a minion. Or we can do something like Blessing of Kings, which is the same thing. It's close. I think here I will go with the Deathlord. I can't necessarily say that it's better. I think either one is fine. We do have a good amount of spells in this deck. We have the Blessing of Wisdom, Hand of Protection, Blessing of Kings, Double Hammer of Wrath, that's 5. But I think it's very important for us to have board control. So a card that gives us temporary board control like Deathlord might end up doing a lot for us. Go. Blessing of Wisdom, Consecration, Jungle Panther. So we don't want too many dead cards. We already have 1 dead card here with the Owl, 1 with our Hand of Protection, 1 with the Blessing of Wisdom, 2 with the Hammer of Wrath, and kind of 1 with the Gnomish Inventor. We just want solid curve plays. So here, between Jungle Panther and Consecration, we already have enough 3-drops, so we are just going to go with the Consecration. Pretty easy pick. Puddle Stomper versus Argent Protector. Now this is kind of unfortunate. We're 20 picks in, and if we look at our curve, we have 2 2-drops, 2, 3, 4, 5 3-drops, 1, 2, 3, 4 4-drops. We're pretty good on 3s and 4s, but we really need to fill up our 2 slot, and that's kind of where the game begins in Arena. So, although Argent Protector is one of the best cards in Paladin, we might have to go with the Puddle Stomper here just because we need 2-drops. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but we have to make sure we have board control in the early and mid game stages, or else all control decks, like all the mages, druids, paladins, or mages, druids, yeah, other paladins as well, but also priests will just run us over. Same with shamans. Any class that is stronger with some kind of board, is a lot stronger with some kind of board, will just run us over. Here, we'll go with the Spiteful Smith. Solid, and we definitely need a little bit more late game in this deck. Here we have a choice between 3 not so great cards. The Nomagrod Infantry activates the Blessing of Kings, so that's a small upside for him. Also, it activates Blessing of Wisdom. Stone Skin Gargoyle, I see there is a Stone Skin Gargoyle Blessing of Kings combo, but generally that doesn't work out so well because of things like Silence or Hard Removal. I think taking the 3-mana 1/4 with the same stats, but with the charge, the instant effect is probably going to be a lot more helpful. So we'll do that. Mech Warper versus Abusive Sergeant. How many mechs do we have? We have 1. We have 1 and 2, 3. Okay. So not that many mechs, but we do need 2s. Abusive Sergeant is a great card, but we definitely need to pick up 2s. We talked about this earlier, where we said that we didn't want 2-mana 2/3s in Paladin, but when we are 24 picks in and we only have 2 2-drops, That's kind of when we had to take that hit and be like, all right, we're gonna pick maybe less desirable 2-drops so we can fill our curve. Here, Boulder Fist Ogre, pretty easy pick, solid stats and a solid late game card, and we definitely need late game. We have 3 late game cards so far, and we want to probably end up with maybe like 5, 6. Monty Berserker, 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 2-drops. Abusive Sergeant is a lot better in Paladin since it does activate your 1/1s. It makes it so if you have anything on the board, even a 1/1, you still have some kind of reach on the board, and you can have some kind of counterplay. That's why Paladin is so dangerous in the first place, because of things like Blessing on Kings. So you can't leave a 1/1 out, or else, you know, who knows how the Paladin will hit back. We should probably still go with the Amani here, just because I really find we really need to fill up our curve. That's pretty much it. Yep. Dark Iron Dwarf, solid 4-drop. We'll take it here. Take it over these two. We have solid 3 plays, so Dark Iron is fine. Even if we get our 2-drop kill for free, or if we miss our 2-drop, our 3-drop generally will stabilize us, and we will have a target for Dark Iron Dwarf with things like Ogre Brute, Imp Master, and the Aldar Peacekeeper. And Consecration, easy pick. Last pick, Little Exorcist, Injured Blade Master, Light Warden. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 3-drops. We don't really need another 3, but we're not playing Priest, and we only have 1 True Silver to synergize with the Light Warden. Generally, Light Warden is not a card to pick unless you are playing Priest, or if you're playing like a Druid, Mage, or a Rogue, and you're very desperate for 2-drops. It might help you trade with your hero power for an opponent's 2-drop if you have that ping as a hero power. But we're not. We're not playing a class like that. So here we'll probably just go with the Injured Blade Master. Yep. Alright, so looking at this deck, let's just look at the curve first. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 2-drops. I didn't count the Owl because generally we can't rely on playing it on turn 2. So you have 5 2-drops. I think that's fine. I'd prefer to end up with like 6 or 7 in Paladin, just because I think the board control gets you a lot of value. So having a lower curve doesn't punish you as much, because you can get that value back just by having board control and making favorable trades. On turn 3 we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 3-drops, which is solid. I like it. And on turn 4 we have the True Silver, Blessing of Kings. Blessing of Kings kind of counts. I count it as 0.5 here, just because our curve isn't super strong early. So I would say maybe like half the time it would be active. Active meaning that we can play it on something on turn 4 effectively. So we'll count it as 0.5 for now. Just, it's nice to make these little guesstimates on. It'll help us kind of tell a story for how our deck will play most of our matches. So we have 1, 1.5, 2.5, 4.5, maybe 5-ish with the Ancient Mage and Gnomish Inventor. So we have enough turn 4 plays. And we have 4 late game cards. I mean, overall, I would say that we've kind of curved out our deck really, really well. Because if we count the Hammer of Wrath as late game cards, since they are, we have 6 late game cards. We have 5 2-drops, 5 3-drops, 5 4-drops, 6 3-drops, 5 4-drops, and 6 late game cards. That's a good curve for Paladin. What are we missing in this deck? We didn't end up with any Argent Protectors or Shielded Minibots, which are very powerful class cards. We don't have a Muster for Battle, which is another powerful class card. But we do have the True Silver, the Blessing of Kings, the Consecrations, and the Aldar Peacekeeper. Honestly, it's not a super powerful Paladin deck, but it's definitely not a bad one. I would say it's very slightly above average Paladin deck. It would be a lot stronger if it had like a theme for it. But it just seems like a control Paladin deck, and we generally want to play our game slowly. So hopefully we don't match up against a lot of mages, because we're not going to win a slow match against the naturally slower classes like Druid, Mage, Priest. So if we can face up against other mid-range classes like Shaman or Paladin, that would be good, or aggressive decks, or like faster classes, that would be good. But yeah, this deck, what would I say that this deck would go? It's tough. Just because I think Paladin is so strong, but I mean, we don't have any of the really strong Paladin cards that make it kind of overpowered. I'll say that it'll go 8 wins. I think 8 wins is fair, maybe 9. So I'll guess 8 or 9, and we will post the results of the stack, so you guys once again can laugh at me if I go wrong. But I've been pretty close to my guesses with these drafts and the results. So yeah, that's it for this draft. I know this one took a little bit longer again, but I hope you guys got something out of it. And yeah, my name's Ratsmah. Hope you guys join me. If you want to check out my stream, join me on twitch.tv/Ratsmah. And yeah, see you guys later.